Welcome to the Man of Recaps. This is Shadow and Bone, Season 1. Meet Alina Starkov. She's a cartographer, a map maker in the First Army of Ravka. She's just been transferred to the army base on the border of this gigantic wall of shadow called the Fold. Alina is an orphan. Her parents died when she was young trying to cross the Fold, and it essentially cuts East Ravka off from the world because they're at war with their neighbors, the Fjordans in the north and the Shu to the south. Alina is half Shu, which makes things awkward, and she's been discriminated against her whole life. She had one friend growing up, another orphan, Maleyn Ortesev, Mal. They were inseparable as kids, and he's in the army too. They're still best friends, and he grew up hot. Now the army's sending a skiff through the Fold to get supplies from West Ravka. It's not definitely a death sentence, there's a small chance of survival. But unfortunately, Mal's name gets called. Oh, bad luck. Alina's not letting her friend go alone. She burns the maps of the other side, so now they've got to send a cartographer. Leading the expedition is a Grisha. Yes, that's the word for wizards. They make up the second army, and they all have one specific power, like fire or wind. And so here we go. We're traveling into the Fold. As you might imagine, it's very dark and scary inside. This one guy, in fact, lights a lantern, which is the one thing you're not supposed to do, because the light attracts monsters. Oh yeah, the Volcra, and things get out of hand real quick. Alina's getting carried off. Well, guess the show's over, but wait, what's this? She starts glowing, and boom, pure sunlight energy destroys all these Volcra. They turn the boat around and come home so they can bring Alina before the leader of the second army. Yes, he is a Shadow Summoner, the Black General, the Darkling, General Kirigan. Alina was never tested for magic as a kid, so now General Kirigan pokes her, and indeed she is the first ever legendary Sun Summoner. And apparently it's her destiny to destroy the Fold and save the world. Meanwhile, on the island city of Ketterdam, it's a dark and gloomy haven of crime. The young owner of the Crow Club is Brekker, a criminal mastermind type. His friends are Jasper, the charismatic, goofy sharpshooter, and Inej, the serious, super stealthy cat burglar type. She just heard about a new job that pays 1 million Kruga. Yes, this wealthy merchant has a prisoner. He was on the ship, but bailed early, so he made it across to the other side. He fills them in on the existence of a Sun Summoner, so it's like, hey, if you cross the Fold and kidnap her, I'll pay you 1 million Kruga. But there's another criminal in town who wants this job, Brekker Rollins. He's a real bad dude, seems to be the top crime kingpin in the city, and apparently Kaz has some sort of personal beef with Brekker Rollins from something in his past, so he's like, I'm not giving up the job, but that million Krug is mine. Before they can go though, Inej is actually an indentured servant to Helene of the Menagerie. Kaz is going to use some of the million to buy out her debt, but for now he puts up the Crow Club as collateral. So the Crows recruit a guy called the Conductor, who apparently has a safe way to ferry people across the Fold. Somehow he built a train that zooms on through, and it is very safe unless the Volcra find ya. Jasper starts freaking out, but luckily they brought a goat as an emotional support animal. So calmed by the power of the goat, he's able to wham, blast them all off, and they make it through safely. Now at the little palace, Alina's adjusting to her new life. She makes friends with Jenya, a type of Grisha called a tailor, who's basically got magic makeup powers. There's combat training in the mornings, but mostly she works with Bagra, the old woman who lives in a cave who tries to teach her how to control her powers. She befriends General Kirigan, who's like, hey, call me Alexander. He's a real sad emo guy because as a shadow sorcerer, his ancestor, the Black Heretic, is the one who created the Fold. Alina comforts him, and around him her powers are amplified. Oh, the sexual tension's off the charts! But what about Mal? They both claim to just be friends, but clearly have a crush on each other. She writes him letters every day, but he never responds. She's like, oh, now that I'm a Grisha, he must not like me anymore. You know what? Forget that guy. I'm the Sun Summoner, baby. I'm gonna go make out with General Hot again. But poor Mal has been writing her every day, and she's never responded to his letters. Someone's intercepting them. But one day, orders come in from the second army to track down the legendary magical deer. Yes, apparently an ancient Grisha used forbidden magic to create these animals out of his own finger bones. Any Grisha that kills them can absorb them into their body and get a huge power boost. Mal volunteers. He figures this might be his chance to get back to Alina. So with his two best friends, he goes magical deer hunting, but their journey takes them across the Fjordan border, and oh, they're attacked! Mal survives, but his friends died. But just then, he does find where the magical stag lives. So he goes to the little palace like, yo, I found your deer. Kirigan's like, cool man, show me where, but he's like, yo, I want to talk to Alina first. But Mal's gonna have to wait, because tonight there's a big fancy party going on where Alina's showing off her Sun Summoner powers to all the foreign diplomats. And a Sun Summoner is no normal Grisha. It's like part of their whole religion. They call her Saint Alina. And who snuck into this party? It's the Crows. They send the Conductor to sneak into her secret changing room and grab her, but oh, he's not grabbing her, he's assassinating her. But that wasn't Alina, it was a body double, Queen Amidala style. And in fact, Kaz knew the Conductor was gonna do that and set him up. Over in West Ravka, with the Fold separating them from the capital, there's an independence movement going on. Kaz saw that general meet with the Conductor. The two guys that profit from the Fold existing don't want the Sun Summoner taking it down. So now the Crows can kidnap her for real, but General Kirigan comes up with some flowers like, I'll escort the lady myself. And these two sneak off for some mid-party hanky-panky. Oh, naughty. But just then they get the news someone tried to assassinate her, so Kirigan's like, wait here, I'll be right back. But sneaking in through the secret passage is Bagra, like, yo girl, come with me. She's like, yo, Kirigan's just playing you, he's secretly evil, and I know this because I'm also a Shadow Summoner. I'm his mom. Turns out he's not the descendant of the Black Heretic, he is the Black Heretic! Yes, he is the immortal Darkling! Whoa! He doesn't want to destroy the Fold, he needs her powers to help him control it, so it's like, you gotta get out of here. And so Jasper, having seduced a stable boy, is waiting outside with the getaway carriage, when who should show up but their target, the Sun Summoner, looking for a carriage to hide in. Well, that was a freebie, and the Crow's failed mission somehow succeeded. Now there's no better time to take a break for the story of Nina Zenik. She's a type of Grisha called a Heartrender that can manipulate your body stuff and make you feel all happy. But Heartrenders are also skilled combatants, they can rip you apart from the inside. But Nina's ambushed by some Fjordan Grisha hunters, the Druskella, who take her prisoner. And this poor actress spends most of the season freezing cold, soaking wet, chained up on a boat. This one guy, Matthias, is kind of nice to her, even though he still thinks she's an evil witch. But when the boat's sunk in a storm, they have to work together Titanic style to survive. They end up snuggling for warmth, and long story short, he realizes she's not an evil witch, she's a nice girl, and they fall in love. They're gonna run off together and travel the world, but oh, he falls asleep. Yes, her old Grisha comrades are here to rescue her, but she's like, no, I don't need to be rescued, he's nice. But running off to fall in love with the enemy is not acceptable. So she pulls a bold move and yells out that he's a slaver, and there's some slaver hunters here looking to collect on the bounty. So they get away from the Grisha, they'll figure out the rest later. But when Matthias wakes up, as you can imagine, he's pretty upset. He assumes she's been playing him this whole time. She's like, no, Matthias, I really do love you, I'll sort this out, but he, wants nothing to do with her anymore. So sad. So now, back to the main plot, Alina realizes she's accidentally kidnapped herself. She blasts them with some sun rays though and escapes, and long story short, is found by Mal, the master tracker. Yeah, orphan friends reunited. If you're old enough that the Notebook is a relevant reference, it's that scene where she's all like, why didn't you write me? And he's like, I did write you every day for a year. I said all sorts of super cool romantic stuff like you're my true north. They don't have a wet sloppy kiss in the rain, but they do hug it out. They realize they have to go hunt that stag before the Darkling does, so he doesn't get a huge power up. They track it down, Alina's gonna shoot it, but she's like, wait a second, I think I don't have to kill it to get its power. Let's see if I can try befriending it, and oh, it looks like it's working. But what? Oh, just then the Darkling shows up and no hesitation kills that deer. He's like, hey Alina, it's too bad you found out I'm the bad guy. I was hoping we could be lovers and friends while I manipulate you into following my evil plan. But for now it's plan B. He puts the stag antlers around her neck and the bone in his hand, and they manage to fuse them together. What? Gross! And boom, now he can control her Sun Summoner powers. So they travel back to the Fold, ostensibly to destroy it. Alina's reunited with her makeup friend, but turns out she was working for Kirigan the whole time. In fact, she tells us she just poisoned the king so Kirigan could take control. Although apparently it's the king's creepy religious advisor who's now running the country. We've only met him briefly, but he seems like a weird dude. But she's like, look Alina, Kirigan's not evil, he's just fighting for Grisha rights above all else. And indeed we get his tragic backstory where he had glorious long hair, but the king at the time was hunting down Grisha and killed his girlfriend in front of him. No! He made a plan to use forbidden magic to create an army to fight back, but his mom's like, yo, it's forbidden for a reason, it's too dangerous. He didn't listen though, and when they came for him, he tried to use shadow magic, boom, to turn them into monsters under his control. But he lost control and whoa, splooged out the entire Fold. He tries to tell Alina he's a good guy, but it's like, yo, maybe you had good intentions, but I mean, you've clearly become a villain. He's like, fine, I don't need your help anyway, you'll forgive me eventually. Yeah, these two, by the way, are the only immortal Grisha, so he figures in a few hundred years they'll get over this little speed bump and they'll be back together. And now it's time, we're going back into the Fold. With Sun Summoner powers under his control, wow, makes a big tunnel safely through the whole thing. On the other side, the rebellious army's ready to fight for independence. But wait, what's this? The Darkling, pushes the shadow forward, engulfs the whole town. Yes, he has no interest in destroying the Fold. He's going back to his original plan, use it as a weapon to conquer the world in the name of Grisha. Now the crows naturally snuck on board, and they meet Mal, who snuck on board too. And they team up to try to take Kirigan down, but he retracts the sunlight around him, so now, they got Volcra to deal with. Kirigan's like, don't fight against me, Alina, join me on the dark side, but she grabs his hand and a knife pops the bone out. Yes, turns out even though he killed the stag, it actually gave her its power first, so wham, super stag power up. And as part of that, she fully absorbs the stag necklace into her. I guess that's how it's supposed to happen. And so her two boyfriends are duking it out for the final showdown. But Kirigan makes a tactical error, takes too many steps back, and a Volcra swoops in and eats him. So the gang makes it out okay, but Alina realizes she's not strong enough to destroy the Fold yet. And with the creepy guy ruling Ravka now, it's probably not safe to go home. They're gonna go into hiding for a bit. Inej is actually very religious. She's like, yo, Saint Alina, I'm traveling with you, I'll be your bodyguard. Brekker's like, yo, I'd still really love to kidnap you though and get that $1 million. But Alina has the $1 million heirloom necklace, like, hey, what if I pay you this to not kidnap me? So they're gonna all travel together back to Ketterdam, where Pekka Rollins is gonna try to kill him. Don't worry though, Kaz always has a plan. For this one though, he's gonna need a Heartrender. And guess what ship they're on? The one with Nina Zenik. Whoa, plotline's gonna converge. And as for Alina and Mal, they're ready for whatever ventures await them as they're gonna eventually save the world. But at the Fold, the Darkling has survived. And he's learned a new trick. He can now create shadow monsters and bring them out. And that's where Shadow and Bone Season 1 comes to an end. If you like this recap, hit that subscribe button for more of the best recaps of TV and movies. And if you loved this recap, check out the join button and support the channel as a member.